Okay, so now I'm going to take you onto the system. So I'm going to click into Synergy. So you should be able to see, I'll try and make it larger, just zooming in a bit. If you see me looking away, because I'm working on two screens at the moment. When you go in, we're working on the test portal. So this is the link we're going into, but you'll get all that information. So Chris and between Chris and Leslie, and even myself, just email us if you have any problems at all, but you will be able to get access to your logins, which will be after the session. To get into the system, you've got your username. So mine is Hester. So I literally just type Hester in there. And then I've got this next button. So I'll click on there. So when I click onto the next button, it's just starting to, brilliant. Put in my password. So let's make sure I have to put the right one in. I had to change it this morning. So let's just hope it's this. Now, when you work with your password, you do need to put a wildcard character in. So it may ask you to set it. And you do need to use one of those wildcard characters, whether it's the @ symbol, the exclamation mark, etc., etc. You've also got information if you forgot your password, if that's there for you. So I'm going to sign in. Okay, didn't like that one, so let me just do it again. So it should be, bear with me. So should be it. There you go. That's looking good. I'm going to say no thanks to that. So hopefully you can see my screen. Sorry if it's a bit small. I'm just trying to make it a bit as large as I can. Right, so it just tells me a bit about the providers. This is just a fictitious system. You've got your modules at the top. Just make sure you're in childcare service provider. So I'm just shaking my mouse so you can see where the mouse is at. Childcare service provider takes you into this screen that I'm in now, and it looks very similar. So it's a nice, clean looking system. Far right-hand corner is all your login data. So I'm just shaking my mouse. It's got HK there. If I want to go in and change my password, I'd use the account management side of things. And if you want to sign out at the end of the day, or the end of the session, I should say, you've got the sign out button. All right. So I'm now going to move my mouse down to the 3 tabs. You'll notice you've got a home tab. That's what we're on at the moment. So welcome to Hackney Portal. And we're going to be looking at the summer term, and it tells me the estimates, actuals, and adjustments here. So it gives you some information. You've got a forms area, all right? So the forms area is the early years census form. That's what we're talking about. And this it's needed at the end of January. And I'm sure Leslie will kick in if I said the wrong thing there, but it's needed needed in January, and it's reviewed in January 2022. So this is an area we don't need to look at the moment, all right? But it is there for you.
Can I just add to that? The Childminders will know this is the form that we send together with the head count every January. So this is the equivalent. You'll just be doing it on this system now rather than having a separate form. And it should be pre-populated as well. So you just need to update it. And as I say, it's only once a year. You don't do this every term. It's once a year in January, because that's when we have to give the additional data on you as a childminder to the DFE, in addition to the normal child data.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to the funding tab. This is the tab you'll be using. Now it's asking me for a favourite colour, and I certainly have put mine in, and you'll get the same thing. So I'm just putting my favourite colour there. I actually changed it, so I'm just going to put lemon. Lemon is it doesn't matter. I'm just it's for security, but it was lemon that I changed it to. Now this is. See if it's case sensitive. It is case sensitive, team, because I actually typed it with a capital L and it didn't like it. So just bear in mind that step is case sensitive. All right. So now it's taken me into the main area that I'm going to be talking about for this evening session. So you'll see your funding tab. So you've got your home, forms, and funding, which you need to go into. You then have this sub bank of menu items. So you can see you've got the summary, which we're going to be looking at. The estimates, you can see it highlights red as you point to them, and I've got the actuals. I will add that the adjustments, it's just going to be me showing you pages, I'm afraid, because we're working on this system. We haven't got the back end access to it for this session. We're just going to have to show you, I'll just have to show you some of the pages there, so bear with us on that side. So with the last part, the eligibility checker, I will show you how to work with that area as well. All right, so the main areas of these 5 that we're going to be covering for this session. So let's start off with the summary tab. So when you click onto the summary, you need to click onto the term we're working with. And for this session, we're looking at the summer term 2021. So I'm clicking onto 2021 and hold on, summer term. Here we go. Let's do that. Summer term I want. So 2021 to 22, summer term. And notice the funding type now appears. So you've got the funding type, two-year-old funding, or the 3 and 4 year old. So we're going to go through the 2-year-old funding to start off with. So let's click on there. Your screen will look similar. This is literally just your summary, sort of a kind of statement, I would say. So on the left, you have estimates. On the right, you have actuals. And the moment everything's shown is 0. But once this has all been input, these numbers will update. I will add, again, we're on the training system. We won't be able to work with the back-end access we normally have today. So a lot of this will show as a 0. All right, I'm afraid.
Can I just give one thing, if that's okay, Esther, on this? This hopefully for you is going to be useful as a sort of for your accounting processes, because obviously as you, this is based on the whole system is based on the fact that you submit data, we process it, and then we use it for payments. And whilst we'll still be doing the external payments, i.e. paying you through backs, the information about the payments that we're making is going to be on this sheet. So you'll, at the end of the day, for each term, you will have information on what you've been paid. So as I say, you know, and your hourly rates, so that you can then use that for your, you know, for your accounts. Okay, at the end of the day.
Thank you, Leslie. So at the moment, everything's going to show as 0 until you put all your data in there. So it's nice and straightforward. Okay, so you can see what that's looking like. Estimates on the left, actuals on the right. So we're going to start off looking at the next tab along, which is called your estimates. So you click onto your estimates. This is the important part. So you need to do this. It takes us into the estimate for 21-22 for 2-year-old funding. We could change it at this stage to 3 and 4, but we're starting off with a 2-year-old. That's what we're going to work with for now. Then we'll change it. So notice the questions that we've got. Number of weeks for this term. So we need to enter the number of weeks for the term. And it's normally, for this purpose, we've got 13 in there. That's fine. And I'm sure Leslie will sort of add to what I'm saying in a moment. But we're going to use a 60. It's already defaulted, but you just put your figures in there. So literally you just click in there. I've put 13 and then 60 is what I've just added, because this needs to calculate the number of children that we're working with at this stage. All right.
Yeah. So just to add to that, it's a slightly different, obviously different process than normal. You've sort of previously just submitted the head counts. This is to facilitate the first payments. What we're asking you to do now is to estimate the number of children you're going to have for the term, and enter. So effectively, this is based. Let's say that you have 2 children. You're anticipating having 2 funded 2-year-olds for the term. So the estimated number of funded hours per week would be 2 children times 15 hours. That would be 30. Okay, so you would put 30 in there. When you press on calculate, that button there, it will multiply that figure by the 13, and that will calculate the amount that we need to pay you for the estimate. Okay, so that we can get that done quite early before we receive your actual child data, because the new system is based very much on is based very much on the process of estimates, headcount, adjustments. Okay. Rather than just the one submission of a headcount form. And this will allow us, because you may at the very beginning of term not necessarily have all the data from your parents or whatever, but you're going to have those children. This is based on a payment before we actually get the named children. Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've entered the number of weeks. I've got 13 in there, 60, and I clicked on the calculate button, so it automatically works out there are 780 hours in this term. So it just tells you the number of funded hours just there to set for you. You can, change this if you need to. So if I need to change it, I don't know, because I put 12 in there, that will work, won't it, at the same time? And that we calculate, you can see that the numbers are changing. So let's just put that back to, should I put 15 in there, Leslie, do you think? Is that too much?
Number of weeks? No, number of weeks is 15 is too much. The maximum is 13.
13, sorry, you said. Sorry, 13 in there. 13 and put 60 in there. let's calculate. You must click on there. So once you're happy with what you're seeing, the 780 hours in this term, you then click on the send claim button. I will say, once you click on that send claim button, that's it. You've sent it through. It will grey this button out. It won't in this instance because we haven't got anyone working on the back end. But once you click on send claim, it comes up with submission successful, and this button will grey out. You won't be able to click it again. But again, I can't do anything at the moment because, again, that's normally handled in the back end of the system. All right. So submission has been successful for this particular entry.
Yeah, and then obviously, if you've done that and then decide, and think you've made an error, then we can always, I think we can change that in the back office, so that's not a problem.
Brilliant.
And in fact, if we think that you've submitted far too much, we will also change it in the back office. If it's by an error, it looks like it's far too many children than you would normally have. We will check it out with you and then potentially change it.
Nissel, I think, put her hand up. If you've got a question, Nissel, you're on mute.
You're on mute. Okay. Do you want to hold that question, or do you want to take it now? It's up to you, Leslie.
When another child. Okay. When we'll talk about late starters when we get to the adjustments, Nizel, that picks up those late starters. Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, so you actually can tell if this hasn't gone through because you would be checking your summary tab from at this point, because it will actually show once this has been posted, your summary tab will show all these figures will be revised. So it will actually be apparent on this, so so from your estimates, you've submitted it, that same send claim button will be, in fact it's greyed out now, can you see? So I went to summary, but now it's greyed out. I cannot re-enter it again, but I think Leslie just outlined to you exactly what you need to do. All right, so I hope that was that part was quite straightforward. We're now going to move forward to the next tab, which is we're going to be looking at the actuals. Let's just click on here, hopefully.
Now, just to say, the actuals is the head count, effectively, where you submit the details of the actual children that you're going to be claiming for that term. And the way the system works, just to sort of go back later, we open it up. So effectively, there are periods when we will notify you the system is now open for your adjustments between this date and this date, and those are the dates in which you'll be able to, for your advance, and then that will be closed and we'll make the payments, and then we will open it again for the actuals, and you'll have a time scale in which to submit the children's data, and then we will close that at a point. And then you will have the opportunity, we will open up again for adjustments between a certain time frame, and we'll let you know what those time frames are. But basically you have to submit the data in those time frames, because once it's closed, you can't submit data. I mean, obviously we can reopen it if necessary, if there's good reason to do that, but it's all based now upon sort of fairly specified timescales when you can actually submit your data.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I decided this afternoon to save time to set one up for you. So I don't have to keep keying stuff in. So what I'm going to do is going to take you through what you would need to do, but what it's also going to look like. So do bear with me as I do this. And again, if Leslie, if I'm going off kilter or you don't not understand what I'm saying, please do share that with me. But I'm going to click onto, if you need to enter your information, you have to select this enter an EY voucher. All right, so that's what we do. We click into this option and you'd enter the voucher code details inside this EY claim. So for example, I'm just looking at my notes just on this one. I've already put one in, but if I put in FC, I'm just typing this off a list. Let's see if this works. Okay, let's do this one.
Okay, while Hester's doing that, shall I just say this is the Synergy voucher. So this is where a parent has done the application for 2-year-olds on the Synergy parent portal and has a 6-digit Synergy voucher, which is a mixture of letters and numbers potentially, or could be all letters. Pam probably knows better than me what a Synergy code looks like. And so effectively, but if you still have children who are using the old Capita vouchers, and there should be less and less of those as we go along, you will have to use the add child option, and Hester will go back and show you that later on. Yeah, so the add voucher is the Synergy voucher codes only.
Okay, so I'm just putting in the date of birth here. If you notice when you click on there, you get this navigation. You can type the date in. I just literally just clicked through using that navigation area, which is quite straightforward to use, just using the arrows and the bits in the middle. But you can type it in. But it has to be in this syntax, in this setup, if you can notice how it's been set. So I'm now putting in the child's surname. To make sure I've got the right ones. Morals. It's a lot of so I just need to tick this off my list so I don't repeat it. And I'm going to now click on submit. Brilliant. So you can see, as soon as I've done all that information, I've just input from the EY code. I need to now complete the fields in this area. So what I've got now is certain windows. I've got now the summary information showing on this one, child's details. So that's what I'm going to start off with by going. So I need to complete the child's details information for, remember, working with a 2-year-old. So from the summary tab, you can sort of see what's happening on here. There's not much going on. Child's details, let me tell you what you need to complete. Please look at the areas where you've got anything in bold with an asterisk, because that is required. So you can certainly see for this one, just making sure it's completed, it's pre-populated with the names. But the areas that you need to concentrate on is proof of DOB, so you do need to select that. The gender is set. Preferred surname, I can see nothing needs there, but ethnicity, I can see that's pre-populated for me. But you do need to fill in the SEN COP stage, and at the moment it defaults to unknown. And I don't know, I'm hoping some of you, because Leslie, myself earlier, some of you couldn't actually quite see this field. So if you can't see it, let me know. But it should say SEN COP stage, unknown. I need to click on the drop down arrow and you should be able to see. In fact, it's not showing it because I'm looking at my other screen. But when I click on this field, it comes up with various options. And let me tell you what those options would read typically. It will say something like education, health and care plan, no special education need, SEND support, and statemented. They're the 4 options that I've got. So you've got unknown, education, health and care plan, no special education need, and SEND support and statemented. So I'm going to go for education, health and care plan. All right. Yeah. I'm so sorry you can't see those options, but they are shown on my screen.
Yeah. Just that, you have to select one of those options. Unknown is not an option. It has to be either, as Hester said, EHCP, no special educational needs, SEND support, where the child is actually receiving some level of support from the SEN team. Statemented, which is the old equivalent of the EHCP, but most children that I think most, Pippa could probably clarify this, but I think most 2-year-olds are going to be on EHCPs, aren't they? I wouldn't have thought on the old.
Yeah, that would be.
That's probably that's probably no longer necessary. Okay.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that, Leslie, indeed, that if you do not complete that field and you leave as unknown, the system is very smart because it will tell you, it'll come up, it'll highlight and say you've missed that field. So that's what's really, that's quite good. So don't worry too much.
Just a quick question. It's more likely for 2-year-olds that may be in the process, if they're in the process of an education health care plan, but not yet received it, what would be?
I think then we just have to put SEND support.
SEND support.
I think at this point in time, because the likelihood is next term it might change. And
sure. Okay. Yeah.
But just to say, the advantage of this using the voucher is that it is pre-populating most of this child data for you. The proof of DOB is just for you to confirm that you have seen the child's confirmation of, because this is an eligibility that relies upon the child's age. We just want you to confirm that you have seen proof of the child's date of birth. So we're talking about largely passports, aren't we, or birth certificates. Now, obviously, you don't need to keep those. We just want confirmation from you that you've actually seen them and you've verified them.
Great.
And we don't expect you to submit any information with that. It's just you telling us that you've seen it.
Anita has got raised her hand and got a question. Do you want to put it in the chat, Anita?
Do you want to put anything? Do you want to put in the chat? And what we'll do, put it in the chat, but also make a note of it. And at the end of this, we'll take questions.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember this particular one because I just wanted to establish that on the contracts they don't ask for the children's ethnicity. So it's actually a question that we have to ask the parents if they want us to put down. because by law you're not obliged to answer that question.
Right.
So,
Not
I
obliged.
think that could be a problem.
Not obliged to answer what question? Sorry.
Ethnicity.
You're not obliged.
Right. Okay. I think no. One of the options for ethnicity. Sorry. Thank you, Anita, for raising that at this point. One of the options in ethnicity is information not yet obtained.
Yes, I can just see it there. I've just clicked on it.
Oh.
It's got that.
So you can,
Information not yet
you can
obtained.
select that.
Yeah.
And we do get a lot of that because obviously
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. They don't have to. They don't have to. It's obviously useful to us and to the government for monitoring purposes, but as you point out, we can't force people to answer that. So there is an option for.
Well, I've just changed it. If you look at my screen now, can you see information not yet obtained?
Yeah.
So you can see that. So that's actually there. So this was on Iraqi before, wasn't it? I'm just looking for that now.
Yeah.
I think it's Iraqi.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it's there. All right. So yeah, there's loads of options in there. So I hope that helped.
Yeah.
On the right-hand side, team, you've got an address area. So you've got address line 1. Now, this is really important that when you do work for the address, please fill in as much information as possible. Because don't just put a first line and the postcode. It's really important, as you're saying, if you could fill in as much detail, even if you've got a town, city, the whole lot, we need that from you. Do you want to add to that, Leslie?
Yeah, just to say that, as we say, because we have to match the addresses when it comes in. So yes, if we can have at least, the street number, the street name, and the postcode, that's sort of really helpful. But we have seen some very basic ones where we literally just had a street name and part of a postcode, and then obviously we can't match addresses on that basis. So, so just as much as you have, the sort of London is not necessary, but it's helpful. Yeah.
Okay, I'll push on because, as I said, I'm just looking at the time to see here, so I don't keep you too long. We don't need to. Good news is we do not need to complete the parent care details. Yay! So we don't need to show you all of that. Okay, I'm going to jump straight to the funding details. So this is the important part. So with this tab, we need to select the start and end date. Now we just click on the default term dates. That will automatically update for us. Other things that we need to do. Enter the weeks entered in terms. So we've got weeks entered in terms. We need to put information in there. So I'm going to put, oh, sorry, excuse me, my battery's just going. I don't want the screen to go because I will be crying.
And
sorry, everybody.
Yeah, while you're doing that, just to say that will normally be pre-populated as well. Okay, so in the live, because obviously we're using a test system, you will be using the live system, and the live system will have the default term dates in, and it will have the number of weeks for the term.
Okay, I've just put 13 weeks attended in terms 13 in there. We need to select present during census, tick on this one, and we need to select tick if a child attends 2 days or more. So you need to select this if they attend 2 days or more. The universal hours, I'm going to put 15 in there. Okay, so you can see what's happening. Attendance days, do select what's relevant. So you can just select accordingly.
Yeah, and if we can just go back to that sort of number of days or more, as you all know, I'm sure, is that the maximum number of hours you can claim in any one day for the free entitlement is 10 hours. So if you don't click that attends 2 days or more, obviously, hopefully, if the children do attend 2 days or more, it's not going to allow you to put more than 10 hours in. Okay, it will stop you putting 15 hours in because you have to be attending 2 days or more to claim 15 hours.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So attendance days, I've just gone through this batch for you. Non-funded hours, just make sure it normally best to populate. It normally defaults to 0, which is just fine. We could just leave that as a 0. All right. The other thing I'll draw your attention to, and whenever you see these red boxes, just kind of glance down at them because it just gives you some information in there. It holds some sort of key information, number of weeks, and your universal hours and termly, yearly, etc. So that's all in this boxed area. So at the moment, so far, you can see how straightforward this is. All right. And then the last tab, there's notes, which you've got any notes that you want to put, any information that's going to be helpful. Again, it's not mandatory. You don't have to complete this field, but that's what that tab will do. So you can add any notes if you want to just add that into there. I mean, typically, I don't know what you put in there. Well, anything that's going to be helpful, I guess. All right.
It's just anything that might be useful if sort of relating to the claim, really. That we rarely get them.
You really get them.
What you can do if they're Yeah, I say it's mainly
something like that. This is an urgent claim.
Well, no, I think 2-year-olds we rarely use it. It's mainly used for the 3 and 4-year-olds with the whole grace period issue. So, but yeah, you can put anything in there that you wish to draw to our attention about a particular child.
Okay, so at the moment you can see how straightforward this has all been. I hope you can see that. So what I'm now going to do is to check everything. We've gone through summary, child details, don't need to complete the parent details, funding details and notes. All right, so once you've done all of this, you click on save. Now, if anything's gone wrong, it will tell us. That's the good news. It'll come up with a big red banner at the top saying you've missed a skip. So if I missed the send cop, for example, it will tell you. It would not let me proceed. But successfully, it has taken me through to the claims all listed.
Yeah, we just talked about the add. So the add child option.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're planning on doing one of those, Hester, but just to, if not,
I'll click on it now. Yeah. Okay.
This is the one, as we said before, that you use if you don't have one of those synergy vouchers. And as I say, there shouldn't be that many of those children, around now, because we should be getting to the stage where most of our eligible 2-year-olds have actually done the application via the Synergy parent portal on the Hackney website. Okay, but the reality is, if you're adding a child because you have got one of the children that still has the capital one, you're going to have to fill out all the details manually. Okay, there is no option for pre-populating by doing adding voucher. So it means you have to do all the child details, you have to fill out the parent carer details as well.
Yeah, this information. So I'm clicking on the tab so you can see child details, parent care details, all has to be completed, funding details. So you can see it's all more or less the same, but you just have to put in the work for this one. Is that okay?
Yeah, and just to say, if you notice that you as well as having that sort of summary at the beginning, which gives you details of the overall funding, you also have that summary for each child. So you can see what payment you're getting for, how much you're being paid for each child as well. Okay,
that's helpful. So we start off, I shared with them how to complete this Enter EY voucher, but as Leslie's just mentioned, you could also do the add child separately, where you have to fill in the details. Well, you have to put in a bit more work when you're working in that with it in that way. Hope that all made sense. So look, these are the two that we worked with. This is the one we've just worked with, Miles Morale. Created this one earlier. So if I do need to go back in to it, let's say I want to go back into Miles Morale's information, I'll click onto it. And you see, so if there's anything you've missed to skip, I can go back in and do any changes to this. Again, for example, let me show you what happens if you do miss a skip. I've changed that to unknown, save it. Can you see it tells me save record failed due to the error listed below. And watch this. It's really clever because it tells me the error follows. You haven't completed the send cop stage. It does tell you. So very intuitive. So I'm going to change it and now save it again. Perfect. All right. So once it's added, you continue adding the child or your vouchers. And that's when, once you've done all of that, that's when I would click on that send claim. So just keep adding. A couple of things I want you to note. The red exclamation marks just telling me it's waiting LA download for this one. But this one's unsubmitted claim. So these red exclamation marks you see, just point to them. If you hover over them, it tells you what they're doing. This button is an undo button. So if you want to do an undo edit, go into it. You can just literally just do an undo. Not sure at what stage, if I click onto it now, what it's going to do. I'd personally be very careful with it, because when I click onto it now, it says, are you sure you want to undo your pending changes for this child? So you can undo it. Just going to say no. All right. You've got the child's name. It links back in to take it into the record, and funded hours and total funding can be seen. So once you're happy with everything, you then click onto your send claim. So when I click onto send claim, submission successful. Do watch out for these banners, because whenever they come up, it just says, you've done it. It's gone that step further. And it's got a big tick saying more or less, well done. You've added it.
Yeah. And
so it means it's successful at the moment.
Okay. And the waiting LA download means what happens is this information comes into us, and then we have to process the records and accept them before that status will change. Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Now, the next part of the course is going to be a bit of a talk through. I really won't keep you too long in it because I'll sort of point you into the direction what you need to do, a little bit of homework, a bit of reading over it, just a couple of pages. Let me show you what that is. We're now talking about the adjustments. I don't know if you want to add anything to it whilst I get that page up, Leslie, at all. But the adjustments, funding adjustments, I cannot demo due to we haven't got the back-end system that's the person who does the back-end for us.
That's fine. The adjustments, again, as I say, that will be the third window that we open, and that's for you to submit any changes. So it's not just plus adjustments, i.e. new children who've started late. It's also, you can do minus adjustments. So if you've claimed for the full 13 weeks for a child who's actually left early, then you can do the adjustment to send that back to us so that we note that we need to reduce that claim. Okay, so that's what the adjustment is for. It's for, you know, it could be a child that you've had there all the time, but you forgot to claim for them, as I say, or a late starter or an early leaver.
Brilliant. Just so you know, I've gone into the tab for it, Leslie. So I've just gone into which will send you these links. So I've gone into the document that's been created. I'm just going to go to the page for adjustments, just so you can see where it is at. So it's on page 28, I believe. Yeah. So look, submitted adjustments. Hope everyone can see this okay. This is your homework. It just tells you exactly what you need to do. So select the funding. This is what I'll be doing, showing you now. Select the funding, adjustments. Just try and make it a little bit big on the screen. And it sort of points you through exactly what you need to do. In this example, 2-year-old funding is selected. So that's what you'd be selecting. And just going down again, just give it a glance through. If you're stuck with it, come back to us. And it just tells you really how you enter everything. We've been very precise. Everything's documented. So you enter your voucher code, select the child, add the child. So you can see these information, 3 options that you've got. Just going to scroll down. Leslie, do feel free to talk through it. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't much when you start clicking. Let me just zoom into the screen a bit. Pending adjustments. This is the screen that you're going to see that's slightly different, everyone.
Yeah.
The screen's going to look like this. Do you remember we had the parent carer funding details? This is what it will look like, pending adjustments. And it says number of hours, you enter 7, put a reason there, and you can see that this information will show up under the universal term hours, and you save it.
Yeah.
Very, very straightforward.
Yeah. That's what you're claiming additional hours for an existing child. But as I say, you can also, you can do it, there's a minus option. Where you're claiming there's a more and then there's a less button. And the less button is where you're reducing the hours of a child that you've already claimed for. Or you can add a child if you have a new child that's just started with you. And
then once you click on the send claim, that you go back to this screen again. Do you remember? You're familiar with it? Do you see you've got the screen just there and you click on send claim? It's really straightforward. It really would. Do you see? So this is all set up for you, and it's on page 28 to 34 that you'll see. I just realised I've got to change this because it's got this. This is not right there. So I think they've put the wrong copy version up of the document. Leslie, I just noticed that.
Yeah,
look.
no, that's fine. That can be changed. Yeah. So as I say, the manuals on our website, and you get the link to that. It's in services for schools.
Well, I can drop that link in now. Actually,
okay, that's great. Thank you.
Let's do it now. I'm going to put that link to this doc guidance. I'm putting it into the chat now.
Yeah.
So do take hold of it. Let me just drop it in now for you all.
And we can do, as I say, you know, we will, for the first term anyway, we'll be talking, you know, if you've got any problems, we'll be talking you through this process or working with you to actually enter the data. The adjustments you won't be doing until probably around November, which is when that sort of will be opened. Okay, but as I say, you know, you'll have the manual, you'll have the recording, but also, you know, we're available, myself and Claudia, and, you know, sort of other members of staff in the early years, we'll be able to help you with the process.
Yeah, and if you want some one-to-one training, just reach out to me. I'm happy to show you if you want a bit more personalised training or help at any time. Feel free.
We can look at sort of refresher training because obviously, you know, people each term it can be a different. There are childminders who have children every term, and there are childminders who have children perhaps once a year or you know, sort of even less frequently sometimes.
Okay, so thank you, Leslie. So the good news is that's it for the 2-year-old funding. That's the good news. I still have to show you the 3 and 4-year-olds. So you just got to hang on a bit. If you want a bit of a go and get some water or drink, you've got 2 minutes. You can do that at the moment. But that is the 2-year-old bit for now. All right. How are you feeling?
Miriam, I think you were going to ask a question. Do you want to put it in the chat, Miriam?
She can ask.
Or you can ask it now.
Yeah. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Miriam. Both Miriam and Avinda have got their hands raised.
Yeah, you'll need to unmute to ask questions.
Unmute.
So you need to use your unmute button. Can you see it? It's at the bottom left, first button on the bottom bank. It's got a microphone. Unless it's not working, put it in chat. If it doesn't work, put it into the chat.
Yeah, yeah. If you can't do that, you can always sort of email me the queries sort of afterwards. Yeah.
Of course, some people put their hands up in error and they don't quite realise they've got their hands sticking up.
Yes.
It could be that. Now, at this stage, I think it'd probably really be good if we just put on just another little sort of 10 minutes or so. A natural break. Please go and take it now if you need that. If not, I'm going to push on and talk about the 3-year-olds, 3 and 4-year-olds, which shouldn't take long because I'm actually going to work with one that I've already set up just to save you time. All right, so I do appreciate it. So I think some of you have gone for a quick break. So I'll give you perhaps have a couple of minutes if you want.
The question, Leslie, you might be able to answer it. What about an under 2-year-old funded child? We're not talking about
under 2-year-old funded child.
Targeted. Are we talking about targeted here, Miriam?
Is that who? Oh yes, is Miriam? Is that what you're related?
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah.
No, at the moment we're not. The targeted funding is not going through this system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just. I was waiting for Anita to come back. I was timing it for then, so when I'm going to start, and she's come back now. So now I'm going to start. All right. 3 and 4-year-old funding team. Very, very straightforward. I'll go slowly.
Can I just?
Yes.
I don't know if I can. Are we able to go to the eligibility checker first? Is that possible?
Oh, sorry. Did I miss that?
No. We normally do it at the end. No, not for 2-year-olds. I'm talking when we go to the 3 and 4-year-olds. We normally do the eligibility checker at the end.
Yes.
I wonder if we could probably perhaps do that first.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Do you want me to do that now? Yeah, I'm going to do that. So before we talk about the 3 and 4-year-olds, Leslie's asked that I go to eligibility. I can never say that. The checker. I'm going to click on there now at the top. I just clicked on there.
Yeah, just to say that this system has the facility for allowing you to check. So when a parent comes to you with, so it's 3 and 4-year-olds only. So a parent comes to you with the 11-digit eligibility code saying they want 30 hours with you, or they want to use, the additional 15 hours because they're using universal 15 hours somewhere else. You can check on this system to see whether they're actually going to be eligible for the term. Because if you recall, with the 30 hours, it's not like the 2-year-olds. So with the 2-year-olds, once you get your eligibility number, you're eligible for as long as you are 2, up until the point at which you become a 3-year-old the term after your 3rd birthday. The 30 hours has to start at a certain point before. So for instance, if we're looking at, we're working with the summer term. So for 30 hours claimed to be eligible in the summer term, the start date has to be 31st of March or earlier. Okay, so you need to know that when you're actually accepting these 30 hours codes. Now, obviously, we've been doing those checks for you. I'm happy to do it, but this will allow you to check yourself so you know straight away whether someone is actually going to be eligible for the term or not. So that you can say to them, well, no, you're not eligible. If you want those hours, you're going to have to pay for them. Okay.
So I'm just putting the information in as we speak, as you're talking. So I'm just finding the child's date of birth, which is the 1st of April 2018.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do that now. 1st of April 2018. So let's go to 2018. You see, I'm using this team. Just go back and forth.
Yeah. 2018
April, I said, and I want the 1st. You can type this in, by the way, and then I need to go in. Now, notice these fields. Asterisk means it's mandatory, you must complete them. So I need to put in the parent carer NI number, which I'm looking for at the moment. So bear with me. I think it's this one, NN1122 40A. That should be it. Need to select this option. Consent must be given for this. And then that's everything that's completed there. Submit. And here we go. Let's just zoom in a bit so you can see. So you can see the details provided has been completed. I think, Leslie, do you want to say something about those dates?
Yeah, because this is a test system. It's not running in the same way that the actual one would do. So, for instance, with this one, obviously your codes would normally start with 500 anyway.
Yeah.
This is just a test system. So effectively, with this one, the grace period end date is actually would not be the 12th of April 21. With a code end date of 21st of March 2021, the grace period end date in the real system would probably be the 31st of August 21. Because as you know, your start dates have to be either 31st of March or earlier for the summer term. For an April start, they have to be the 31st of August or earlier for a September start, and the 31st of December or earlier for a January start. And the grace periods are always either 31st of March, 31st of August, or 31st of December. But as I say, this is just it. It gives you the option to do that check so that you don't end up, in error taking someone and then finding that you're not going to be paid for them. But as I say, the thing to mention about this as well is it's literally an ad hoc checker. It's about when someone comes to you, you run the check so you know straight away if they're going to be eligible or not. It doesn't retain the information on the system. So if you want to hold that information, you're going to have to make a note of it. Once you enter the child onto your system, when you're doing your claim, it will retain the information, but not at this point. This one is literally just, if someone is walking through your door saying, I'd like a place with you in September, you can just check to see if they're going to be eligible or not. Yeah.
Brilliant.
You can even it could even be an option. If they come to you in plenty of time, you might just say to them, well, look, your eligibility is about to expire, go off and renew. If you want to be eligible. So it's that's the purpose of this thing. We're happy to still do checks for you. So if you feel that you don't, but it's just I think it's a useful tool that this system has. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, fantastic. So I think you saw how I used that just at the very top, and then you just click onto this button, 30 hours free childcare, and then you input your information. So I hope that was very straightforward actually, and very useful at the same time. So should we just flick back now to change it to the 3-4-year-olds? Let's quickly run through this for you. So you can change it from this point. Look, do you see 2-year-old funding? I can click on the change. Takes me back to this screen, summer, and then back to the screen where you've got your funding estimates. 2-year-olds is what we clicked on earlier. We're now going to go to the 3- and 4-year-olds. And again, very, very similar information that we're going to work with. So you put in your number of weeks for the term, you put in your estimate number of funded hours, same thing, and calculate. And then you get your 780 hours for this term. So that's exactly the same. So that's a good thing. And then you click on your send a claim button. And remember, this is grayed out. Once you go to your summary, it's all completed. If I go back to the estimates tab, it becomes grayed out. All right, so that's the good news with this part. All right, so now what we're going to look at now is click onto the actuals. Now, to save me doing lots and lots of typing, I actually did create this one earlier, which I will more or less go through it with you, what you need to sort of look out for. So with this one, you would actually just click on your add child. So ordinarily you click on add child, and when you click on add child, just going to go into this one, you'll get into these screens. So you'll see your summary, your child details, parent carer, funded details and notes. So this is what you would see, if you can imagine. So I'm just doing it for quickness on for this time. So you've got your summary tab, all the information will be added. Obviously this will be all zeroed down. Child detail, all right? So remember, 3- and 4-year-olds. So what do we need to put in? Anything with an asterisk, Terry, Teal. You enter the date of birth. You enter the proof of DOB, tick, gender, preferred surname, ethnicity. Can you see the information is there? You may not be able to see me clicking on these drop down, but the ethnicity, you can leave it as we established earlier, information not yet obtained. And you've got your send COP stage as well. So this information is identical. Everything's identical. Do ensure on the right hand side now, I'm just reeling my mouse over, please ensure you put the full address in. For my example, I've just kept it quite blank because they haven't given me the full details, but we want you to put in the full details in terms of the address line, any town or counties, and also we must have a postcode. So you can see this is identical. Now, what is different is your parent carer details. You do need to complete this tab. This is imperative, so you must complete this tab.
Can I just say something?
Do you want to add to it, Leslie?
Yeah, just to say, you only need to complete this for the if you are claiming the additional hours, or if you are claiming early years pupil premium, and that's probably an opportune moment to talk about early years pupil premium. Do you think, Pippa?
So early years pupil premium is for children that would be eligible for free school meals. And it's important that you've identified those, particularly when we start thinking about Ofsted inspections. Ofsted will be looking for how you're supporting those children, what additional services, resources that you're providing. So it's worth noting that. In terms of funding, how does that work, Leslie?
So basically, it will be a separate payment that we would do for you. And it's as I say, it's for 3 and 4 year olds only if they meet the eligibility criteria. Because what we do, if you tick the permission for early years pupil premium, you obviously need to have there's a bit of additional information you need. You need the parents' date of birth, okay, which you don't necessarily need for the 30 hours check, but you need it for early years pupil premium, and you need to tick the permission. And you need the national insurance number and the parent's name.
I'll be doing the funding details in a moment. Sorry, cutting in a moment there. Just to go back to this tab though, just to confirm, and because I just say it's necessary. You only complete this tab if claiming early years pupil premium or extended hours, correct?
Absolutely right.
Brilliant. Okay, just want to be clear on that.
And the early years pupil premium it's an additional 53p per hour on top of your 195 hours per term. Okay, if when we run the eligibility check, it does come up as an eligible child. So it's not a huge amount of money. It works out at about.
And I would like to add the fields that you need to complete would be, and you can see they're not mandatory in terms of you see there's no asterisk, but you do need to put in the full name, surname, date of birth, and I've got here selected the NI number. I've entered the NI number in there, so all that information, and notice the 30-hour tick has been placed into the consent box as well.
Yeah, and as I say, that date of birth in this case is the parent's date of birth.
Yeah, this is the parent's date of birth, just there.
And,
perfect.
Right, and can I just add to this bit that if you are claiming 30 hours for a child, the parent in there has to be the parent that claimed. So as you know, the 30 hours is applied for via HMRC, and it has to be the parent who made the application. Okay, because we have had instances where people have put a parent in there and it's come up as not found, and it's effectively because it was the wrong parent. They weren't the parent that had actually made the application. That's actually something we learned through Synergy. It wasn't it wasn't something we'd come across before, but that's how it's working. So you just need to make sure it is the correct parent. Okay, and sometimes they seem to change. They seem to be interchangeable. 1 minute it's the mother and 1 minute it's the father, but it has to be at any given time. It has to be the one who's applied. Okay.
Brilliant. So we're nearly there, honestly. So let me just go through to the funding details tab. This is the main tab, really. And again, just saving time, it's been pre-populated, but let me go through the fields with you. So again, the screen is very, very similar to the 2-year-olds. Start end dates, you see they're mandatory. Default term dates, you just click onto this default term dates, and that will automatically just put that information in. Weeks attended in terms, I've got 13. You've got some other fields, but you've got the attend 2 days or more. I've got a tick in this side, in this box has been checked. Nominated for DAF, yes. Universal hours, I've got in there 12, but this should be 15.
Okay.
Now, the reason I may not, again, we're on the training system, so it may not quite like this, and that's why I had it a different. I'm going to put it in. It may not work, but it should be 15.
Okay. Can we just go through just very quickly, Hester? Just jump in.
Yes.
Obviously, we would like you, if you're claiming for the full term, then we would expect you to be ticking present during census. So unless the child is starting, we will tell you each term what the census date is, and unless the child is starting way past that census date, then we would expect that to be ticked.
Do you want to tick it now, Leslie?
Yeah, if we could. And just to say, the nominated for DAF. DAF is the Disability Access Fund. Now, in most cases, that is going to be a no rather than a yes. Disability Access Fund is available. So if you have a 3 and 4 year old who's claiming the free entitlement, so they have to be claiming the free entitlement, they have to be a 3 or 4 year old. If they are in receipt of disability living allowance, and you have evidence of that, you can provide us with a copy of the DLA award letter. You can get an extra £615 per year for 2 years, potentially if the child is with you for 2 years, and if they've actually submitted the claim for the full 2 years. And that, again, that would be to the point of it, like the EYPP, is to help the child access the free entitlement. So you could use it to purchase a range of things. Okay. But obviously, if the child is not in receipt of DLA, then please make sure that that is ticked as no, because it does affect the claim.
Okay, so is this bit correct where I've got the yes?
Well, you've put yes in because you're just doing the sample. Yeah. So
exactly right. So
but yeah, that'd be
this
example.
example.
In most cases, it's probably going to be a no.
Fine. All right. That all makes sense. The eligible for 30 hours, it's ticked, but I know it's greyed out. It's because I've already pre-populated this one, so that's why. But ordinarily, there's a tick in there. All right. Total funded. We've got selected. Again, I do want to draw your attention to the attendance days that you can go in and select. These different days.
Sorry, Hester, just quickly back. So you did do. So I was probably talking over it, so I apologise for that. But you did click the 30 hours free childcare. Yes, I did this earlier.
This 30 hours free childcare button. You need to click on that.
Yeah,
and you can see. And that's why this eligible for 30 hours was great. It's kind of, you can see it's ticked.
Yeah.
But I already did it earlier. But you would need to click once you've completed these fields. Just shake my mouse over it. You need to click on this 30 hours free childcare.
Yeah. And that's the point at which the eligibility data actually goes into the system and it's saved. Okay.
Brilliant. Okay. And attendance days, again, self-explanatory, what we spoke about earlier. Non-funded hours as a 0. If that's left blank, by the way, just put a 0 in there. And I'll draw your attention to the red box that tells you the maximum values allowed. All right. So that's all there for you. All right. So that's, you can see it's very similar to the 2-year-olds, and you've got your note screen as well. Now, if I move down and I click on to save, it may not save it because this is the training back end and it doesn't like these hours that I've got, Leslie.
No, I think this is because
I'm going to put it down.
It's been pre-populated. I think it's still reflecting the spring term.
Yeah. Can you see this?
So it's telling you can only claim 180 hours when in fact you'll claim 195. So it's just a glitch because this was previously used doing some training during the spring term, and I don't think the system has
been quite updated there. Yeah. So the good thing is, I would say it tells you, and this is what I love about the system. If things go wrong, it tells you exactly where it's gone wrong and what you need to do. So if anything, that's a positive. So let's just go back in. I've just put 11 there, 12 in there, and let's see what happens now. So now it's going to give me that lovely green tick that I like to see. It's all done. Everything's hunky-dory. Yeah, saved. And there is Terry Teal. So if you do need to go back in and do any changes, just click back onto the link, takes you straight back into his details. All right, so what have we established? Summary tab, you can see this has all been populated. It's one that I created earlier. And then we looked at the child's details. I went through with you. And note that you must complete the address fields. Make sure that's completed in full. That's what we'd like you to do. And anything that's mandatory is denoted with an asterisk. We mentioned that you can complete the parent carer details. And you can see we put in Tanya Teals with the national insurance number, 38 hours, etc. And as Leslie mentioned, it's not mandatory. It's depends on what you're doing when you want to complete that tab. So it was only if you're claiming early years pupil premium or extended hours, you complete the parent carer details. And then we spoke about the funding details, which was the very last tab. And these are the most intense tabs, I'd say. Not intense as in difficult, but more information you need to think about when you're working with it. And that's all you need to do. And simply click on to save. It takes you straight back. Continue adding more children if you need to. So keep adding. Once you've got them all added, all you need to do is click onto the send claim. Notice 2 banks of buttons, doesn't matter, either or, whichever one you're going to use. Click on the send claim, and then that's winged its way through for us. We already spoke about the checker, so that was all done. So good news is that is it. That's a wrap for explaining the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old system, and I hope that all made sense. If it doesn't, we are there for you for any help, guidance and advice. So I'm going to shut up now and hand over to Leslie. Is there anything else that you want me to talk about? Not?
No. Well, I mean, as I say, just to say that after this, people will receive their accounts, and in September there will be pre-populated data in there. So so the summer data will be pre-populated for them, for people to amend, delete, whatever, and add new children.
So, Anita, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah. Leslie, I must say you've been very helpful to me for a long while now, looking after 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. You've been superb. Yeah, so now we're on a new journey. Hopefully I won't have to bother you too much, but I won't find it a problem too. But the question is, how are we actually going to get paid? Are we going to get paid for the whole term, or are we going to stick to the monthly payment?
It'll be the monthly payments because because when we consulted, previously, when we were required previously to consult on how frequently childminders wanted payments, and monthly was agreed. So that will still be the same process because we're using this system to collect the data on the children and collect the information that we need for the payments, but we're making the payments in exactly the same way that we made them before. Yeah, so that's fine.
So my understanding is that you will send out dates where they need to be inputting. Is that right, Leslie? So it's really important that people keep an eye on their emails and meet the deadlines. And the window, how long is that window to make adjustments?
Yeah, it can vary. I mean, for the advance, it's likely just to be a couple of weeks because we're not asking for child data.
Okay.
For the head count, we normally keep it open longer, so about a month.
Okay.
Potentially because we're asking you for child details, and then the adjustments again, we would probably just be a couple of weeks.
Okay.
As I say, at the end of the day, if things miss some of those deadlines for good reasons, we can reopen windows or at a pinch, we can also add data. So just to say that we can add data from our end. And we can adjust data from our end. Obviously, the more that the childminders get used to the system and to adding the children that way, then the better. But as I say, we can always support and adjust if necessary. Yeah.
It's like anything. The more you use it, the easier it gets.
And as I say, hopefully, once we're using it, and we're using it sort of properly. Then we will put the hourly rates will be put in there, and effectively as we're adding payment data, you will have that information there that this is what you've been paid for this year, this is what you've been paid for this child, so it's a sort of integrated system, which I think is quite useful.
And it also sounds to me like a lot of what Hester has talked about today would actually be pre-populated anyway. Yeah. So you wouldn't necessarily have to put in so much detail.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as I say, we've put in the summer data ourselves. Yeah. So effectively, that will be transferred over. Obviously, what happens each term, as with the group daycare settings, is if you have, for instance, if you had 3 2-year-olds this term, and they are children that that from September are going to be funded 3-year-olds, so they've moved up into the 3-year-old age bracket. You would get those children in your 3 and 4-year-old actuals, and obviously what you would then need to do is if you're not looking after them anymore because they've now gone off to a school, then you would there's a delete option. I don't know whether whether we showed that, but it's in the manual. So there's a delete button, so you'll just delete those children because you're no longer looking after them. And then when that comes to us, we see there's a deletion, we accept it, and then that child is removed from your head count. And ditto, if you've had 3 and 4-year-olds in the summer term and they are now too old to be a 3 and 4-year-old funded child, they're now in the term after their 5th birthday, they will automatically be removed as well. So the system does that. It takes into account the dates of birth and removes them. But yes, if you've got a lot of 2-year-olds and they remain 2-year-olds and they remain with you, then you're going to have minimal work to do. You're just having to sort of, submit them and just tick present during census, if you need to, and then any adjustments that you need to make. So I think it's going to be fairly straightforward. And as I say, for most people, we're talking about, I think our range of places is between 1 and about 12, I think, possibly. At the moment, so we're not talking about huge amounts of child data having to be submitted. But it is useful because in the old system, obviously, it's important that we're able to sort of track children, in order to monitor progress, to know which, so this sort of is a linked database, that the authority is using for all sorts of different modules. So effectively, we are, instead of our 3 and 4-year-olds and our 2-year-olds being sitting on a separate information system, they're integrated now with the wider authority system, and it's a much better way of recording children's progress and being able to locate where they are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Has anybody else got any questions? Devinda, you've got your hand up. You raised your hand. Did you have a question? No, it's gone. I assume not. Anybody else got any burning questions? Many thanks, Hester and Leslie. Really informative. I know it's a lot to take in, particularly at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm sure there will be more questions. Please direct those questions to Leslie and the early years admin team, because they're the best people to answer them. The coordinators are here tonight as well, so and myself. So again, we'll do what we can. Not promising anything, but we'll do what we can in terms of supporting you in this next stage. So the manual will be available, and perhaps what we could do is just send out a link to that, Leslie, and then the recording for this session tonight also can be. So I for sure will be listening to it again, probably several times, to make sure that I've certainly, like anything, we need it a few times before it actually gets sinks in. But that's fine. You can listen to it and play it as many times as you want until we find it. We're all confident in using it. So many thanks for coming. Leslie, did you want to say anything else before?
No, just to say thank you again for.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Just a very quickie, I know that the coordinators have got various meetups in the summer, so please contact your coordinators for dates of meetups in parks or whatever, because I know summer's on top of us now, isn't it? And certainly today we had a great meetup with lots of childminders over at Hackney Marshes. So I'm sure as the meetups go, it's wonderful to see you all out there with your children. All right. Any other questions before we leave? Bye, Anita. You're waving. Goodbye. Have a good evening, everybody. Have a nice rest for another day tomorrow. And we will see you all very soon.